everyone, and welcome to this deep dive. Today, we're going to be looking at something pretty wild. We're taking a single source and really unpacking this idea that what if information isn't just something we, consume, but it actually is reality?
It's a fascinating concept.
Yeah.
It really makes you question, everything you thought you knew about the world.
Right. It's kind of a mind-blowing idea.
Yeah.
So the source starts with DNA, which I think is something we can all kind of grasp. Those 4 molecules, A, T, C, and G, they determine everything about a living being, right?
Yeah. It determines everything about you.
Yeah, like whether you have brown eyes or...
We have brown eyes.
Yeah, or, if a plant has thorns or...
Right. Like how a virus behaves.
Right, like how a virus behaves. It's all encoded in that DNA.
It's all right there.
So it's like, in a way, information is already shaping the biological world, but the source takes it a step further and zooms in even more to, the world of atoms and quantum mechanics.
Oh, yeah.
And this is where it gets really weird. Because in this realm, particles don't actually have fixed properties until they're observed.
Yeah, you're talking about the observer effect.
Right, the observer effect.
And that has some pretty profound implications.
It really does.
Because it's suggesting that the act of observing something, of gaining information about it, forces those particles into a specific state.
So it's like reality at that level needs information to even exist.
Yeah. It's like reality is waiting for you to ask a question.
Whoa.
Before it gives you an answer.
Okay, so it's not just that information is part of reality. It's like information is almost like the director.
It's calling all the shots.
Calling all the shots. Yeah. And it gets even crazier when you think about the laws of physics.
Right, because those laws of physics are essentially a set of rules that govern how the universe behaves.
Right.
But those rules are incredibly precise. Like if you just change gravity by a tiny bit,
yeah,
stars and planets and life as we know it couldn't exist.
Yeah.
It's like the universe is running on this super finely tuned program.
A cosmic code.
A cosmic code.
Yeah.
And information is the key to that code.
It really makes you wonder who or what wrote that code in the first place, right?
Right. It's the ultimate question.
Yeah. But let's bring it back down to us humans for a second.
Okay.
So we're not just passively absorbing information, right? Our brains actually create their own versions of reality based on the information they get.
Our brains are constantly processing data from our senses.
Yeah.
But what we perceive isn't a direct experience of the world.
Right.
It's more like a model that our brain builds based on all the information it's gathered. Like, for example, if you hear a rustle in the bushes,
yeah,
your brain doesn't actually see a tiger.
Yeah, right.
It's calculating the probability of danger.
Based on, past experiences.
Yeah, based on what it knows about tigers and rustling bushes.
So we're not really seeing the world as it is, but as our brains interpret it.
It's like a filtered reality.
It's a filtered reality. That's kind of freaky when you think about it.
It is. It makes you realize how much power lies in controlling information.
Oh, absolutely. Throughout history, we've seen how controlling information can influence everything from elections to what people buy.
Like propaganda.
Propaganda advertising.
Oh, social media algorithms.
Yeah, those algorithms are everywhere.
They're all about shaping what information we see and how we see it.
And that control is only getting stronger with all this technology, We're bombarded with information every second of the day.
Right.
And it's harder than ever to figure out what's true, what's biased, and what's just made up.
It is. And it gets even more complicated when we consider things like brain-computer interfaces.
Oh, yeah.
Imagine a future where you can download or upload information directly to your brain.
It's like in Matrix.
It can revolutionize how we learn how we communicate.
Right.
But it also raises questions about privacy and what it means to be human.
Yeah, for sure. What if someone could, hack into your brain and, implant false memories or something?
That's the kind of ethical dilemma we have to consider.
Yeah. It's like we're on the verge of merging with information itself.
Yeah, that's a great way to put it.
But before we go full sci-fi, let's switch gears a little bit and talk about this wild possibility of actually rewriting reality. Okay. Because if reality is basically information, then wouldn't that mean if you could change the information, you could change reality itself?
That's exactly what the source is suggesting.
Yeah.
And it uses a really interesting example, money.
Okay.
A dollar bill is just a piece of paper.
Right.
It only has value because we collectively believe it has value.
We all agree on
that shared belief. That's information.
Right.
And because we all agree to play by the rules of this system, money shapes our entire economic reality.
Yeah, it's a really powerful example of how even something like abstract information can have real consequences.
Exactly.
It makes you wonder, like, what else we could change if we had the right tools.
That's where things like quantum computing come in.
Okay, quantum computing. Tell me about that.
So quantum computers use these things called qubits.
Okay.
Unlike bits in our regular computers that can only be a 0 or a 1,
Right.
a qubit can be both at the same time.
Oh.
This means that quantum computers can tackle problems that are way too complex for even the most powerful computers we have now.
Right.
And the key is they do this by manipulating the information encoded in particles themselves.
So we're not just crunching numbers, we're messing with the fundamental building blocks of reality.
Exactly.
That's both amazing and terrifying at the same time.
It is.
Oh, yeah.
And it opens up this possibility of not just understanding the universe's quote-unquote programming language,
Right.
but potentially even changing it.
Like, we're talking about, like, rewriting the laws of physics here?
We might be holding the keys to the operating system of the universe itself.
Okay, I need a minute to process that. We've gone from DNA to quantum computers to basically rewriting the universe. My head is spinning.
It's a lot to take in,
Yeah.
and there's a whole other layer to this when you consider the holographic principle.
Okay, the holographic principle. What's that?
So the holographic principle suggests that our 3D reality might actually be a projection of information that's encoded on a 2D surface.
Wait, are you saying that everything we experience, everything we see and touch,
Everything.
might just be a holographic projection?
It's a mind-blowing concept.
Yeah.
But if it's true,
Yeah.
then changing that underlying information could theoretically change the entire fabric of the universe.
Okay. Officially, my brain is fried.
It's a lot to think about.
So we've talked about DNA, we've talked about quantum computers, holographic universes. But before we get completely lost in the theoretical, let's bring it back down to reality, literally.
Okay.
Because if information shapes reality, then whoever controls that information has a lot of power. And we're already seeing some pretty scary consequences of that.
Yeah, you're right. We've talked about algorithms and their ability to influence what we see online.
Right.
But it goes way beyond that. Artificial intelligence is getting really good at predicting and even influencing our behavior.
It's like we're becoming characters in some kind of digital puppet show.
And the algorithms are pulling the strings.
Yeah. It's kind of creepy. And as these technologies get even more powerful, the question of who's controlling them becomes super important.
Right. Should governments control it?
Mhm.
Should corporations control it? Individuals? Something else entirely.
These are questions we really need to be thinking about right now.
Before it's too late.
Yeah, before it's too late. All right, well, we've covered a lot of ground already. It's clear that information is way more powerful than we often realize.
It's a force to be reckoned with.
It is, and there's so much more to explore.
There is.
Mm-hmm.
In the next part, we'll take a closer look at the ethical considerations of all this. What does it mean for us as humans? And what kind of future do we want to build in this information-driven world?
Okay, I'm ready for part 2.
Let's do it.
Welcome back. So before we went down that rabbit hole of, holographic universes and stuff,
Yeah.
we were talking about the power of algorithms and how they can be used to shape our behavior.
Yeah. It can be a little unnerving to think about all that.
Mm-hmm.
But the source also talks about some of the potential benefits.
Yeah.
What if we could use information to, cure diseases?
Yeah.
Or solve climate change?
Right.
It's like we're standing at this crossroads.
Yeah.
And the choices we make about how we control information are going to determine which path we take.
That's a really powerful way to put it. It's not just about the technology itself, it's about how we use it.
Exactly.
So how do we make sure we're using this power for good? The source seems to suggest that maybe instead of letting governments or big corporations have all the power,
Right.
maybe spreading out the control of information might be a better approach.
Exactly. Centralized control can be very dangerous. It could lead to censorship and propaganda and basically silencing anyone who disagrees.
Right.
So the source talks about exploring other options, like decentralized networks,
Yeah.
where information is controlled by lots of different people and groups.
Okay, so it's more like a collaborative thing.
Yeah, think of it like a massive collaborative library that's constantly being updated and shared.
Okay. That sounds pretty ideal in theory, but how do we actually make sure those networks are safe and reliable?
Right. And how do we make sure everyone has access to them? It's a huge challenge.
It is.
But the source emphasizes the need for open conversations,
Yeah.
collaboration,
Yeah.
and agreeing on some basic ethical principles. It talks about a new kind of literacy where people are empowered to think critically about the information they're encountering,
Right.
understand how algorithms work, and have a say in how information is controlled.
So it's not just about being like passive consumers of information. It's
No.
about being more aware and engaged citizens.
Exactly. We need to demand transparency and accountability from those in control.
Yeah, we can't just let them run wild with all this power.
Exactly. And it's not just about protecting ourselves from manipulation either.
Okay.
It's also about recognizing that information has this incredible potential to do good.
Yeah.
Imagine a world where information flows freely, knowledge is accessible to everyone, and technology empowers people instead of controlling them.
That sounds amazing.
That's the kind of future we should be striving for.
Yeah. It's an inspiring vision, but it also seems like a lot of work, like a massive undertaking.
It's not going to be easy.
Yeah.
But remember, we're not just talking about these abstract concepts.
Right.
These issues are already affecting our lives in very real and tangible ways.
Yeah.
Like the spread of misinformation online,
Right.
or the development of AI systems that can make life or death decisions.
That's scary.
It is. The
Yeah.
stakes are incredibly high,
Yeah.
and we can't afford to just sit back and be passive observers.
So what can we actually do as individuals? I mean, the source doesn't really give us a step-by-step guide or anything.
True, but it does offer a lot of food for thought.
Right.
It challenges us to question our assumptions about reality,
Okay.
be critical of the information we're consuming, and demand more transparency from those who are controlling the flow of information.
So basically be more proactive.
Exactly. Be active participants, not just passive consumers.
It's like a call to action.
It is become more informed. Learn how to filter out the noise, and don't be afraid to ask questions and challenge the status quo.
Yeah, speak truth to power.
And don't forget the positive side of this.
Right.
The source also encourages us to embrace the potential of information for good,
Yeah.
to use our knowledge and creativity to solve problems,
Yeah.
connect with others, and build a more just and equitable world.
So it's like finding that balance.
It is.
Mm-hmm.
It's a reminder that we have the power to shape our own destiny, even in the face of all these challenges.
That's a really empowering message. So I guess my question to you listening right now is, how do you see the role of information in your own life?
Yeah.
What steps can you take to make sure you're using it wisely and ethically?
Those are definitely some good questions to think about.
They are, because ultimately the future of information control isn't going to be decided by governments or corporations alone. It's something that we're all going to shape together through our choices and our actions.
Exactly.
All right, well, we've covered a lot of ground in this deep dive.
Yeah.
From the very building blocks of life to the mind-bending possibilities of quantum computing and holographic universes.
Yeah.
It's been a wild ride, and I think it's safe to say that information is a much more powerful force than we often realize.
Yeah, it really is. And as we continue to explore this information age,
Yeah,
it's more important than ever to be aware of its potential consequences,
both good and bad.
both good and bad. Absolutely.
Hmm.
We need to approach it thoughtfully and responsibly.
Well said. Well, we'll be back in part 3 to wrap up our exploration of information and its power to shape reality.
Yes.
We'll dive into some specific examples of how information is being used and misused in the world today, and we'll leave you with some final thoughts to ponder as you navigate this increasingly complex landscape.
Sounds good?
See you soon. All right, welcome back to the deep dive. We've been talking about this idea that information might actually be e-reality. We've talked about DNA and quantum computers and even those like holographic universes.
Right. All that crazy stuff.
Yeah, but before we wrap things up, I think it's important to kind of bring it back down to earth for a minute
Yeah.
and look at some real world examples of
Right.
how information is being used and, unfortunately sometimes misused.
Real world application.
Exactly. Because it's one thing to talk about all this theoretical stuff,
Yeah.
but I think it's important to see how it actually plays out in our everyday lives.
Absolutely.
And you know what? The most obvious examples is the spread of misinformation online,
Oh, yeah.
what some people call fake news.
Fake news. It's everywhere.
It's everywhere. And we've all seen how false stories and like manipulated images can go viral on social media,
Right.
and it can shape public opinion.
It can even incite violence sometimes.
It's a scary thought.
It is. It's a
Yeah.
stark reminder of the power of information, even when it's false.
It's kind of unsettling how easily people can be swayed by things that just aren't true.
It really is.
It's like we're living in a world where facts don't matter as much as they used to.
That's a good point. So it's more important than ever to be able to think critically,
Yeah.
evaluate information sources,
Right.
spot biases, recognize propaganda techniques.
So basically become more savvy consumers of information.
Exactly.
Okay, so it's like we need to develop some kind of information filter to protect ourselves from all the junk that's out there.
Filter out the noise.
Yeah, but it's not just about fake news, is it?
No, it's not.
Even those algorithms that we were talking about before,
Right.
they can be used to manipulate us in these subtle ways.
Oh, yeah. Like, think about personalized advertising.
Oh, yeah.
Companies are collecting tons of data about our online behavior.
Right.
And using it to target us with ads that are designed to appeal to our specific desires and interests.
Yeah. It's like they know us better than we know ourselves sometimes.
It can feel that way.
You start seeing ads for something that you were just thinking about, and all of a sudden you have this urge to buy it, even if you didn't need it before.
It's a powerful form of persuasion.
It really is. And it can influence everything from our shopping habits to our political views.
And even our relationships.
And it's all based on information.
It all comes back to information.
So what can we do about it? I mean, should we all just unplug from the internet and go live in a cave somewhere?
Well, that's certainly one option. But I think a more practical approach is to be aware of these techniques.
Right.
And, take steps to protect ourselves.
Okay.
We can use privacy tools, be mindful of the information that we share online, and support organizations that are fighting for more transparency and accountability from these tech companies.
So it's about taking back control
Yeah.
of our information and our attention.
Yeah, exactly.
But, it's not all doom and gloom, right?
No, it's not.
I mean, information can be a powerful force for good, too.
Absolutely.
We're seeing incredible advances in, medicine and education and even environmental sustainability.
Right.
All thanks to the power of information.
Like the Human Genome Project.
Oh, yeah.
Mapping the entire human genome.
It's incredible.
Unlocked so much information.
Yeah.
It's leading to all kinds of breakthroughs in disease prevention and diagnosis and treatment.
It's like we're learning to speak the language of life itself.
That's a great way to put it.
And it's the same for other fields too, right?
Oh, yeah.
We're using data to track climate change and predict natural disasters and develop renewable energy sources.
Absolutely.
It's really amazing to think that information is literally helping us save the planet.
It is, and it's also empowering people to connect with each other.
Yeah.
Share knowledge and build communities across borders.
Right.
The internet has created this amazing global marketplace of ideas.
It has. It really has.
And that's something to celebrate.
It is. So it's not about fearing information.
Right.
It's about learning to use it wisely and ethically.
Exactly.
Ooh.
Recognizing both its potential and its risks.
Yeah. So, I think that's a really key message from this whole deep dive.
What's that?
Is that the future of information is not set in stone.
Yeah.
It's something that we all have a role in shaping.
Through our choices and our actions.
We have the power to create a world where information empowers us, connects us, and helps us build a better future for everyone.
But it's up to us to make that happen.
So as we wrap up this deep dive, I want to leave you with this thought. If information truly is the building block of reality, what kind of reality do you want to build?
That's a great question.
What information will you seek out, share, and amplify? What stories will you tell? And what actions will you take to shape the world around you?
The power is in your hands. Use it wisely.
Well, that's it for our deep dive into the fascinating world of information and how it shapes our reality.
It's been quite a journey.
It has. We hope you enjoyed it and found it thought-provoking.
Thanks for listening.
Thanks for listening.
Thanks for listening.